I'm Executive Director Bruce Bronstein, and this is Behind the Curtain at Christopher Newport University's Ferguson Center for the Arts. We're going to talk to composers and choreographers, directors and producers, the people who do the work off stage so we can see the magic on stage. Drew Gasparini is an award-winning musical theater composer and lyricist, a singer, songwriter, a comedian, and a teacher. His unique brand of musical theater concerts have been performed to sold-out houses around the world, including the Kennedy Center and Lincoln Center. In November of 2018, he was invited by the Ferguson Center to present a night of his music, accompanied by the Virginia Symphony Orchestra.
Never gave me the chance to show you I can grow, and you ran away so fast. So take your space and shove it in my face. The lack of faith you have in me. You may not believe it.
The Ferguson Center hosted Drew again when he was working with CNU's musical theater students on a workshop performance of his new song cycle, We Aren't Kids Anymore.
There's so much more. Hello, my name is Drew. Tori, I want to know if you would listen to my music.
The popularity of his sheet music has made him a top 10 best-selling artist on newmusicaltheater.com. As an educator, Drew offers private vocal coaching in New York City and has been invited to lead masterclasses at schools and theater programs across the country, including Christopher Newport University's Torggler Vocal Institute, the Boston Conservatory, and the Broadway Alliance, among many others. Drew is currently working on musical adaptations of the movies The Karate Kid and It's Kind of a Funny Story. And now, joining us from the Composer's Cave in a secret location in the Pacific, here's an original friend of the Ferg, Drew Gasparini.
Hey Bruce! Hey everybody at the Ferguson Center for the Arts. How you doing? Drew Gasparini here. I'm really excited to play some music for you tonight. I'm also really excited to make this a little how the sausage gets made kind of an evening and explain why and how a few of these songs came to be. But I just wanted to start off with a song that takes practically no explanation. It's just a song about having a crush, and it's a feel-good song. These are some feel-good chords, because having a crush feels good. So let's feel good. It's just an illusion, draw no conclusion. Something you knew might arrive any day. You can't understand it, it's not like you planned it. Something about this just won't fade away, 'cause she knocks me off my feet, and I'm barely standing. She knocks me off my feet whenever she's around. So when I hit the ground, no, 'cause she knocks me off my feet. Yeah. Oh, darling. She walks like a dance, she wears her heart on a flannel, her guitar on her back, yeah, she's got lots to say. She hangs out past midnight, she leaves when it feels right. She takes the pieces I wanted to stay. She thinks like a writer, as dry as a cider. Once we remind her of how things can change, 'cause she knocks me off my feet, and I'm barely standing. Yeah, she knocks me off my feet whenever she's around. So when I hit the ground, no, 'cause she knocks me off my feet, yeah. Oh, na, yeah. She plays in a band, she uses slang like a grandma. It's a vibe I can't sound is memorized, keep on replay. You can't understand it, it's not like you planned it. Wants me reminder of how things can change, cause she knocks me off my feet, and I'm barely standing. Wish she knocks me off my feet now whenever she's around. So when I hit the ground, yeah, cause she knocks me off my feet. Whoa, hey, hey, hey. Na 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 na, yeah, na na na, oh, 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 darling. Oh, she takes the pieces you want me to stay. Once we're reminded of how things can change, something about this just won't fade away. Yeah, yeah. Oh, na 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 na, oh, darling. Let's have some fun tonight. Some of the songs I want to feature tonight are from a musical that I wrote called We Aren't Kids Anymore. I just want to take a second right now to say shout out to Bruce and the Ferguson Center for the Arts for helping me and my team develop this show. A couple years ago, we developed We Aren't Kids Anymore with the students at CNU. It was an amazing experience. And since then, the show's been licensed. And now this year, even during a pandemic, there are high schools and colleges licensing this show and putting on virtual versions, concert versions, socially distanced, anything they can do to make sure that theater stays alive and that this story gets told. And that's extra special to me because all these songs from this musical are autobiographical. And when I write in an autobiographical way, I always try to come from a place of honesty no matter what, even if it's not autobiographical. But I do want to make sure that I open the vein. And in doing so, I'm creating an adhesive that takes my experience and connects it with anybody else's so that we are all kind of part of this journey together. This first song from We Aren't Kids Anymore is about a friendship. A friendship, lovely. But it's about a friendship that's falling apart. So that's a little more like, right? So I took those notes and I started writing this song about a friendship that was, I guess, going in another direction. The song's called Something Good. I think I've reached my cap. I think I've met my limit. No more smiling through the crap you put me through. I always do. Don't act like you're all that. I've seen some nasty weather when you used to have my back. And shit was tied together when you knew it was something good. You had someone who understood. And now I can't go on pretending that you're acting like you should. But I'm here because I know you'll grow back into something good. Fabrications stack, they grow into a pile while you wear that silly mask and play pretend. Your fortress starts to crack. I see you and I know I liked you best when you were fat. You used to know exactly who you were. It was something good. We had someone who understood. And now I can't go on pretending that you're acting like you should. I'm still here because I know you'll grow back into something good. Sit through shallow conversations, talk to the wall. I might as well though. Who knew you could take the only moment that I needed and make it something that was all about about you. Because the truth is that I'm watching from a place where you once stood, and I'm losing sight of who you were, the sight of something good. So again, from the musical We Aren't Kids Anymore, this is the song, and it's called We Aren't Kids Anymore. And I wrote it to kind of demonstrate what it feels like in my head to grow up, which basically, if you're a kid looking at adulthood, it is this vast abyss of unknowing. And I think that's a kind of relatable topic of just being unprepared for whatever adulthood has to offer. Because no matter who we were raised by or how we were raised, there is nothing to prepare us for what being a grown-up really means. And that is such a subjective idea in the first place, being a grown-up. But I tried my best to pull out the most honest fears I had, and also kind of relate it to the wonderful nostalgia I had and innocence I had as a kid. So again, opening the vein in hopes to create the adhesive that connects us all through these thoughts and emotions. Here is We Aren't Kids Anymore from the musical We Aren't Kids Anymore. Ever tried to remember being a kid? There's a lot that I liked about being a kid. Opinions are facts. No stress about taxes or death. I could play every day without breaking a sweat. Like a way of escaping what I didn't get. Escaping meant hiding from life and playing pretend, avoiding the part where it all has to end. No matter how fast or slow, everybody has to grow up. And just like that, I get lost trying to figure out just where to go. What can you do when you're tossed in the middle of this so-called normal with the little you know? No more time for games, 'cause every day's the same, just as before. Forced in understanding, we aren't kids anymore. Every now and again, I'm reminded of something that's gone. Games aren't as fun when you're someone somebody counts on. Opinions don't matter. Well, either that or much worse. But who cares? No one's there to say you're doing fine. Sit and stare until there's someone's help to decline. Escaping means running away and missing my youth. We live day by day, avoiding the truth. No matter how fast or slow, everybody has to grow up. And just like that, I am lost trying to figure out what went so wrong. What can you do when you're tossed in the middle of this so-called normal where you never belong? Just keep holding on, 'cause every day is different than before. Forced in understanding, chasing our head for too long, the previous versions of you for too long. Didn't mind when days felt a little too long, or feeling insane for a little too long. Just take a chance, 'cause I believe if you stay there long enough, you'll never want to leave. Why would you ever leave? Go ahead, think on back to when you were a kid. Memorize every line from each scene that you're in. Recite them whenever you're scared, when life seems in flux. We're never prepared for how much growing up sucks. No matter the cross we toe, everybody has to grow up. And just like that, I am lost, trying to figure out just where to go. What can you do when you're tossed in the middle of this so-called normal with a little you know? No more time for games, and every day's the same, just as before. Forced in understanding, we aren't kids anymore. Closer to understanding, we are kids anymore. It only seems appropriate that if you're writing an autobiographical show, that you should dive into some family stuff. That makes it sound a lot heavier than it is. I love my family. I love my parents, and they're definitely worthy of having songs written about them or inspired by them. I was sitting playing guitar one day, and I was playing this riff. It sounded a lot like on the guitar, though. And my dad was like, that sounds a lot like Jimmy Page. He thought it was so cool because he loves Led Zeppelin. And when I decided to sit down and write a song about my father and his story and how it related to my life, I thought I would translate that Led Zeppelin-esque guitar riffy thing into this piano thing, which made it sound a lot less like Jimmy Page and a lot more like a storyteller, Billy Joel kind of thing. But I looked at my dad's life, and the only thing that this man ever really wanted, he's been saying this his whole life, all I ever knew was I wanted to be a dad. That's all he ever knew. So I wrote this song about my dad. It's called The Essence of George. That's my dad. Married, barely old enough to drink. Every day since they'd been dating, life together's all he dreamed of. Started having babies, 4 new mouths they have to feed. Never-ending noise, 2 loud girls, 2 loud boys, navigating life without a clue. Babies raising babies, always guessing what to do. Here we are with our head above water. Here we are with 2 sons and 2 daughters. I don't know how the hell we'll make this work. This family we're building from the ground. George is always working, but he back home with his family. Yeah, the job might kill, but he knows the drill. Pushing through this pain just to provide. Work to find the time for prideful cheering from the sidelines. Here we are, just a pair of high school sweethearts. Here we are, getting by on only street smarts. I don't know how the hell we'll make this work. This family we built up from the ground. This family we're building from the ground. George could be a rambunctious one on the go. The stress and excess of a man with a family, finding new reasons to slow down. A white-collar man with a blue-collar heart, and a love that has not met its bounds. Even when he gets kicked to the ground, he comes to his family where he knows a smile can be found. Dad taught me young to work hard for the things that I wanted. So I strapped a guitar to my back and left home to get this silly career started. He lifted me up to make sure I was out there, gathering stories to tell. He would share his own stories as well. He just wanted to wait, make sure I woke up each day, doing the thing that I love, and to grow. George and Kelly visit, probably much more than most. The kids all make them proud. It's his bi-coastal way of boasting. George's very firstborn has a firstborn of his own. As the family grows, he finally knows. Here we are, after raising all these dreamers. There they go with the purpose they all found. And all I know is George got everything he wanted. His family he built up from the ground. His family he built up from the ground. So I play a few instruments, and it's helped me in my journey as a songwriter. And my mom is the one who taught me the first few things on guitar. And I remember sitting there, and there's this thing when you're tuning guitar, it sounds like this. You know, it's crunchy until you get it tuned up. So I was tuning guitar, thinking about my mom, thinking about how I got to holding this instrument, how I got to writing these songs. And I started thinking about my mom. And again, hoping the adhesive between my experience and everybody else's is there within the writing of this piece. So this song is about my mother, Kelly, but I really want people to see their mother when they hear this song. That was always the intent. And this song is called My Mom Could Play Guitar. It goes like this. See what I mean? Sounds like the thing. I did some here. That sounds like a guitar tuning, but that's actually how the song begins. Mom came home with lots to say. She's pissed because she found a gray hair You'd never guess that she aged a day. But sometimes life doesn't play fair. My mom and dad loved PDA. He shared the joy true love would bring her. They made a home north of the bay. My mom taught me how to be a singer. Music was like breathing because it looked so easy. She always had a song worth singing. Mom taught music every day. She raised us all by the western seaboard. When I told Mom that I wanna play, she grabbed her guitar, taught me a D chord. Her calloused fingers made it look so easy. Thanks for being patient with me. Ooh, the only music I knew was from days of each amazing childhood afternoon. And ooh, take a look at where we are. It's all because my mom could play guitar. After school, she was the carpool queen. For loud kids, she'd never be bored. I was a shithead, angsty teen, fixated by a life led by a D chord. Putting words to music, it wasn't always easy, but Mom was always there believing. And ooh, the only music I knew was from days of each amazing childhood afternoon. And ooh, take a look at where we are. And it's all because my mom could play guitar. One thing I learned just from being around, a mother's job is never over, even when we're grown. And there's nothing like the wound she gets from hearing the words, I need to do this on my own. Mom's worst fear, the empty nest. A house full gone must hit the hardest. Mom and Dad can only do their best. The plight of raising four young artists. Mom taught me to be brave. 'Cause what you fear is what you lean toward. Years of sacrifice and savings. I never thanked her for the D chord. I tell you what, I'm actually in my parents' house right now, and I'm playing this on my childhood piano. And when I'm reflecting on my life and my parents in the setting I'm in, it's all too surreal. Make sure to call your parents, kids. Tell them you love them. A couple years ago, I was blessed with some tremendous news. I was hired to write the score for the Broadway-bound adaptation of the beloved movie, The Karate Kid. And I just wanted to play a song from the score, a little teaser. This is actually the song that got me the job. And a lot of people know, you know, the crane kick and wax on, wax off, and you're the best around. But when you think of it in a theatrical setting, you got to think of where the heart is. And the heart is in this kid who is starting over in a new place until he meets his mentor, Mr. Miyagi. So I wrote this song about what it must feel like to not know any friends, to not have an anchor, to not have any security, and to be scared, frankly. It's how I felt when I moved to New York from California many, many years ago. So this was the song I wrote that got me the job, and it's just a little teaser. And I can't wait for the world to stop being a lousy bag of poo so that theaters like the Ferguson Center for the Arts and all the theaters on Broadway can open, so that we can see these new works in development and we can be shoulder to shoulder experiencing something live all together again. The Karate Kid, you guys aren't even ready. It is going to be so cool. I can't wait for you guys to come to Broadway and check it out. In the meantime, here's a little snippet of a song called Square One. I got lyrics in front of me because, well, I don't remember them, damn it. Here we go. So this is California. This is where my mom decided to be, without a thought, concern, or question, because I never would have agreed to a life in California. I just want to go the hell back to Jersey. Was it worth the cross-country drive? I'm dead meat the night I arrive here. Now explain to me how I'll survive in California. Everything was fine the way it was, Mom. Sure, Jersey's got the tropics, but I take 100 Jersey winters over beat downs in the sun. My smiles were not pretend there. It was home. I had friends there. It sucks to be the new kid, starting at square one. So here we are in San Fernando, watching my bruises turn to blue, far from everything we had, far from anything I knew. Thanks for nothing, California. Now that's a welcome I sure won't forget. You made it clear that it's not my scene. It's like the only thing that I need is 3,000 miles in between me and California. Mom keeps saying just enjoy the weather. California rays are healing. Won't she be thrilled to see the damage healing in the sun? Is this everything that you expected? Say goodbye to feeling accepted. I didn't choose to be the new kid, starting over at square one. And you never asked me what I thought before we packed the hatchback and left it all. Whatever wasn't working, Mom, I can promise this won't fix. Some shitty beach apartment with a shitty broken faucet. No friends, no fun, just stick it to the new kid just for kicks. Everything was fine the way it was. Sure, Jersey's got its problems, but I take the bike tracks by the turnpike if this is California fun. It's like my childhood just ends there. I had balance, I had friends there. I didn't choose to be the new kid, 'cause who wants to be the new kid? It sucks to be the new kid, starting over at square one. Hey, Karate Kid coming to Broadway. Last couple songs I want to do, when it comes to my writing process, even in Karate Kid, if it's not from a real honest place, then it's not worth writing as far as I'm concerned as a songwriter. So musically, I just want to find something that clicks with an ear, and lyrically, I want something that's completely up for interpretation, but it has to come from where I felt it first. And I wrote both of these songs on the same day. The day was November 9th, 2016. That date might be significant to some people, it might not. But for me, it was. And what it made me see, without getting political at all, was just the many problems in our society that keep coming back around, like they're cyclical. And you get tired of it after a while. And every time you think you're close to figuring out what the problem is, some new iteration of that problem starts again. And so I wrote this song called The Carousel about these problems. The song I'm going to play right after that to say goodnight with is a song called Wishing for the Sun. And there's two sides to everything. You got to acknowledge where the problems are, and then you have this other big ingredient to the recipe here, which is hope. Without this piece, without hope, there's no use for writing songs. There's no meaning behind anything without hope. Hope is what pulls us into the next day. Hope is what makes us want to experience things. Hope is what keeps us alive. So first, this song, The Carousel. Lots to say. Let's find a new mood, a new attitude, something to take us away, and hope for the moment the sun will break through and banish the darkness. We've done it before. Vanish, don't come back around anymore. We're looking for answers, the deep underground. We never shut up, but we don't make a sound. Spin around till we're dizzy as hell, like a carousel. Sight of everything decent. Like minutes to seconds, we start to dissolve. We need to be led. With that being said, we need to learn how to evolve and hope for that moment. The sun will break through and banish the darkness. We've done it before. Vanish, don't come back around anymore. We're looking for answers, deep underground. We never shut up, but we don't make a sound. Spin around till we're dizzy as hell, like a carousel. Everybody's floating like a speck. Everybody's easy to detect. Everyone's spinning around understood. So why should we search for the good and hope for that moment the sun will break through and banish the darkness? We've done it before. Vanish, don't come back around anymore. We're looking for answers deep underground. We never shut up, or we don't make a sound. Spin around till we're dizzy as hell, like a carousel. Last song I want to play for you guys. I was listening to a lot of Randy Newman at the time, so it sounds like this. Sounds like it could be in a Pixar movie, right? But again, this song is all about hope, and when you're lost, that's what we have to look for, is hope. It's what we have to hang on to, is hope. So before I play this song about hope and wishing for the sun in a time of grayness or darkness, I want to say thank you to Bruce and everybody at the Ferguson Center for the Arts. I have always loved my collaborative relationship with this venue in Virginia, and I have always loved what the mission statement is there and how that bleeds out to the rest of the arts community. So here's to the day we can all be in the venue together. Here's to the day that we can celebrate new work, and thank you, all of you, for supporting the arts, because it is what makes our world go round and round. Music, storytelling, live performance. Keep supporting the arts. God bless you all for listening. My name is Drew Gasparini. This was a joy to do for you guys. And thanks again, Bruce and everybody. I'm a proud friend of the Ferg. Here we go. This song is called Wishing for the Sun. I see a lot of pain behind the hating. Maybe it's a sign of the times we're living in. The world's undone. Let's keep wishing for the sun. And I know we'll find a smile when the new day comes. I hear a lot more sirens than I used to. Maybe it's the sound of the times we're living in. We hide and run. Let's keep wishing for the sun. And I know we'll find a smile when the new day comes. You think the whole wide world knock you down, like this big old angry world is gonna squash you like a bug. Well, if this whole wide world seems so gosh darn angry, maybe the whole wide world needs a big fat hug. I see a lot less color than I used to. Gloom can turn the blues and greens and yellows into gray. But now gray's no fun, so let's keep wishing for the sun. And I know we'll find a smile when the new day comes. Whoa, gray's no fun. Let's keep wishing for the sun. And I know we'll find a smile when the new day comes. Thank you again, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this evening. It was a pleasure to play some music for you. My name is Drew Gasparini. Thank you, everybody at the Ferguson Center for the Arts. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, all of you.
Hi, thanks everyone for joining us. And joining us now from his parents' house is our good friend of the Ferg, Drew Gasparini. Drew, great to see you.
Hi, Bruce. How are you?
Good,
I
glad
am,
you,
yes.
you were able to
Coming
run
from
down from the piano.
right now. Huh?
You were able to run down from the piano.
Yeah, I'm out of breath. I'm sweaty, too. It was a quick move. Ran real fast.
It's good to see you, man. So let's kick off this Q&A. We got some questions from the audience, but
Sure.
talk
Yeah.
about your year first. What's 2020, right? So how's it been now that we're in 2021?
How's it been is a very loaded question, I feel like, for any person. And for the arts in particular, it was a trying time to figure out what it is we were supposed to be doing during all of this. And the year started with the shutdown, and then I did my best to basically encourage by means through social media and such. I was kind of yelling, artists, don't stop creating, because when this is over, we need art ready to go. Little did I know how long that would be and how long we'd be in this situation. Thankfully, it looks like there's a light at the end of the tunnel with this vaccine, and my producers have still been giving me deadlines, and there are still projects being worked on. So there's a lot of hope. That's kind of the theme of a lot of these songs. So there's a lot of hope right now. It's good.
And you've been busy both with the Karate Kid and your new podcast, which I think is awesome and hysterical.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I got a new podcast with the Broadway Podcast Network. I think that was like part of the criteria for artists. It's like, what do you do now that you don't have the stage as an outlet? I know, plug in a microphone and talk to some showbiz friends. So yeah, it's called Now We're Talking. It's on the Broadway Podcast Network, and every Friday there's a new episode with an amazing guest from the industry. It's a really, really funny, silly way to spend an hour if you guys are looking for a new podcast.
Yeah, it's been great fun listening to it and learning, more about artists. Then it truly does a really good job of making them human. And
that's it. That's exactly the goal. I just want to humanize artists. I just want to humanize them all. Yeah.
Right. So kind of getting back into the theme of tonight in terms of storytellers and the craft, what does it take to do what you do? You talk a bit about writing from the heart. And I had the honor of sitting next to your mom at 54 Below when you performed We Aren't Kids Anymore. And you come to the song Snow, and there's a lyric in the song where you say, this is not the fun kind of song I want my mom hearing about me.
Yeah.
You're very vulnerable in a lot of the stuff that you write. What's the limit to that? What are there things that you write emotionally that you just have to get them out of the way and they never get performed in front of an audience?
Sure. I think, there are things that like a story about like losing your virginity is much better saved for like the little anecdote for like a radio show or something like that. But when it comes to a chapter of my life or a moment, even if it was a moment where I was really struggling, it feels like I'm creating a bit of this adhesive. I keep using that word adhesive. I like to create in a way that's going to hopefully Velcro me to other people, knowing I'm not the only one going through hardships. It's almost easier for me to write about the more vulnerable things in my life. And there's the initial fear of, what's my mom going to think when she hears this? Because she doesn't necessarily know what I'm going through unless it's written in a song. So I kind of have to leap over that fear of what's my mom going to think and just remember the goal of I'm here to connect. All I want to do is connect with other humans and make sure they're all part of this with me. It's somewhat a self-serving, selfish thing, but it's also like, if I'm creating and if I'm putting all of myself into something, surely there must be people out there who feel that I'm putting all of myself into this, and then they feel equally as open to putting themselves back in a reciprocating admiration between person on the stage and fan listening. again, humanizing. It's just humanizing the process.
So, at first, my thought as I was listening to you, I was thinking, but isn't it very intimate? But then the idea of, by you doing it, giving somebody else permission to do it also. That you're
absolutely. Absolutely. And some of like the intimate stuff, there's like references in certain songs to like smoking a joint or masturbating. And I'm sure there are some people who work for the Ferg who just cringed at the fact that I just said that. But the truth is, whether or not society allows us to talk about it, we all think about it and we all do it and we've all done it. And there's a lot of commonality between those thoughts that might seem a little taboo. So I always tend to go down that path.
Along the same lines, and maybe we already covered it, but Oliver asked the question, does writing about your personal life come easier to you, or is it harder? What is something you want to explore in a song that you maybe haven't been able to yet?
I would say songwriting period is hard. Songwriting at no matter how you're doing it, no matter how visceral from yourself it is, or how I'm trying to write a song for Miyagi. I don't really have a lot of connective tissue with that character necessarily, but there's still a deep dive you have to do. And the truth is, when I'm writing something deep from my own experience, it's almost easier to write the song than it is to have the conversation. And I feel like there's a lot of artists who could probably relate to that idea. But for me, that's always kind of been the case. Writing it down, not even writing it down, but like turning a phrase and finding a better way to say it than I could in a conversation is always my go-to when it comes to songwriting. Yeah.
Right.
Good question, Oliver.
Yeah. Thanks for the questions, everybody.
Yeah, there's lots coming in, I see. That's good.
Can you describe the creative process and the business, the difference between writing your own stuff for yourself and for you to promote and make a living of versus, say, Karate Kid, where you're getting hired to become part of somebody else's idea?
It's like this beast that eats its own tail and it just goes around and around and around a little bit. It's the human centipede of art, really. I feel like in show business, and a lot of people might disagree with me here, but in my experience in show business, a lot of it comes to permission. And there's a lot of like personal things that I've written based on my own accord that I can't wait for the whole world to see. And I'll release little bits at a time, like I could use a drink and We Aren't Kids Anymore, and I'll put those out into the world. But a show like Karate Kid, you're basically putting those little things into the world so you can get attention from the other powers that be, so that potentially you get called in down the line to say, maybe this is the guy to write something like Karate Kid. Now, on the other side of that is, if Karate Kid is a big hit, that gives me this permission to say, look at all this other shit I've been writing for the last 15 years that I'd love to, now that you guys see that I'm somewhat successful, I'd love to bring to your attention now. So it's this idea of permission. That's how, in the creative process, if you're writing a song or writing a show like Karate Kid or a show like We Aren't Kids Anymore, which is completely autobiographical, both have a very common thread here of they have to come from honesty. You can't write beloved characters like Daniel LaRusso, Mr. Miyagi. You can't write them just because you think this would be clever, just because you think this would be fun. You want them to have the same visceral experience with an audience as you might with a We Aren't Kids Anymore, where it's written out of my own diary, So the process is not too different, but getting the job is different.
I can't imagine the challenge that creates, because everyone has an idea of who these characters are in Karate Kid. Like Kurt Morita is Mr. Miyagi.
100%. Bruce, all you're doing is you're just reminding me of the stress diarrhea that I have basically every single day. I love to stop. Don't say the D word, Drew. That was Bruce's.
Masturbation's fine, but diarrhea is way too far.
Diarrhea too much. But no. It's I think about it all the time. We talked about, it's kind of a funny story earlier on, and these adaptations. It's pressure no matter what, because you want to do a good job. But Karate Kid is like a different level of pressure because it is such a well-known title, and no matter how good of a job you think you're doing, you're gonna upset somebody down the line. I don't know who that's going to be, but I promise I'm already ready to experience the hate. But that being said, I'm not saying this because I'm writing it. I swear, because when I watched the reading we had, I really was like in the audience of this thing, and I was like, oh my God, this is a Broadway show. And it blew my own mind. So I really think people are going to be surprised when they see the show come to the stage. It's really, really cool.
That's great. I know that I'm excited.
Thanks,
Obviously,
man.
anything you do, I'm excited about.
Bruce.
The on the business side, though, can you talk about process? So you write a song, you create it. It's all about you. Now you want to, you're a business person. You want to make that a commercial success for yourself. What's that process like? And separately, how do you go about getting hired to become the lyricist, the composer for something like the Karate Kid? And along those lines, just to Hannah brings up, not to ask a 27-part question here, but Hannah asks, once you have a workshopable work, how do you go about finding and connecting with places like the Ferguson Center to workshop the show? So if you can kind of tie up the business side of it.
I'll just, it's all about, like, literally, it's all about meeting people. And that is the shame of the education of the arts. If you go to conservatory programs, seldom do they really tell you how the business part of it works. The other thing is, show business is kind of a made up thing. It's super fluid. It's kind of vapid. It's kind of whatever everybody wants it to be. So I tell a lot of artists, make sure that you are treating yourself, the creative here, as the CEO of yourself. So promotions are totally doable as long as you keep resetting goals. And once you're satisfied in a place, go, okay, what do I want to do next? Maybe TV and film. And that's the next goal. So every time you hit a goal, it's not surprising. It's amazing, but you're doing your job, just like you're a doctor or you're a lawyer or something else. You're the CEO of you. And when it comes to writing something personal and putting it out there, I think there's a lot of bravery recognized in the vulnerability to do that. And sometimes I think that makes the artist who puts that work out there approachable. And I think that because my work has been, sort of personal and close to my chest, but outwardly, it has allowed producers to literally just cold email me and be like, would you be interested in this? And I was at the Ferg. By the way, let me just say the story real quick. For doing the symphony at the Ferg with you guys, doing masterclasses and stuff like that, that all happened through the networking part of show business. And that is a big part of what they don't teach. And you came to a concert of mine at 54 Below. It was the It's Kind of a Funny Story concert. You and I had a chat after the show. We stayed in touch, and we have been simpatico ever since and collaborative ever since. Right. And that is how the morons happened. That's how anything good in my life within the world of show business has happened. A handshake, a drink, a meeting. That's all it takes in order. And these people become friends very quickly, and you always want to work with your friends. So keep meeting people, bumping elbows, go to the after party after shows. That is how you continue to, your face keeps showing up in these people's eyes. And that's an important thing. We don't all carry business cards, in other words.
So something for anybody that's out there listening who has an ambition of being in Drew's position. And I don't think Drew knows this. I was nervous approaching you after the show. I was like, here's this guy that was on the stage performing, and, I have this theater in Virginia, but he's really good, and it'd be great to get him down to work with our students. Yeah. And somebody, one side or the other, has to be willing to be a little uncomfortable and get past whatever psychology you have going on in your head that's telling you that it's not appropriate to do whatever you're thinking of doing. You got to push 100%. Past it and do it.
100%, Bruce. The concert that I put on in career that changed, that I put in New York that changed my whole life and my whole career had Jeremy Jordan, Michael Kilgore, Titus Burgess, and a plethora of other people who at the time were vaguely unknown, certainly not as famous as they are now. But the reason they said yes to that is because I waited by their stage door and shot cold emails out to people. And again, this is kind of part of the mission statement of humanizing artists. We are approachable because we're human, just like anybody else. And if you're interested in us, we're interested in the conversation, and that's what keeps all of our worlds going around. You got a venue, I have stuff that I'm writing. Of course we could work together. Let's make it happen, right?
Yeah, and it worked out great. You talked just in your answer there a lot about the work. There's a certain amount of discipline and perseverance, obviously, that's required. It's not magic that this stuff happens. You work hard to do it. Talk about a work day. What?
Sure. A work day for me is, typically, and I'll go back to like when I was in New York, because right now I'm living in my parents' home. I go back to New York in a couple months, but while I'm in New York and things are functioning the way that they should, I'm up early. I'm up 6:30 or 7, and I dedicate the first 2 hours of the day to emails and social media stuff. I make sure to eat a meal and do a workout, and then the rest of the day is blocking off hours to be creative, project to project. And I always make sure I have 4 or 5 projects going on at once, and I call that kind of spinning plates. When you see jugglers they got the sticks and they're trying to keep their plates spinning. I make sure to treat my day like a work day, otherwise, and I'll put my phone in a drawer, literally. Otherwise, you're just on Instagram for 3 hours without realizing that you're on Instagram for 3 hours. So you got to be the CEO of you. How would you run a business? Treat yourself exactly like the business you would run. And that's how I do day-to-day artist work, for sure.
Right. And a similar question in line with that, your earlier answer. Obviously, in order to make those connections, those contacts, you have to stay positive. You have to have a good attitude. Not always easy to do, particularly for creatives.
Not always easy to do.
Right. So what's your advice to folks on how do you get past those obstacles keep you from doing the things that are uncomfortable that you need to do in order to succeed? To reach out and talk to somebody that you think's going to shoot you down.
Obviously, it differs personality to personality, but I feel like if you're uncomfortable and that's something you're uncomfortable with, the first time you are just out of the gate and you're ready to shake a hand and you do it, once you get that first one out of the way, every other handshake after that is easy as pie. And the first time I really wanted to meet somebody in New York, this is another piece of advice, by the way, go to shows. Like I work so hard putting on my concerts in New York and all over the country. And I know how hard everybody else does, how hard they work to put on their shows. Go to their shows, support other artists. Don't make it competitive. The minute you start feeling like it's competitive, I feel like you're doing it wrong. We all want success, and everybody's success is my success. It should always feel that way in every single direction. I just think once you get that first handshake out of the way, everything is easy after that. People are people. We just got to look at it that way,
And getting positive when you're not necessarily feeling like it, attitude-wise. How do you?
So what I've found recently in the last couple years, what helps is obviously a good support system. If your family's not doing it for you, New York's wonderful for creating a kind of a new family for yourself, because you need a support system. I have the morons out in New York, Alex Brightman, F. Michael Haney, and Andrew Kober, a tremendous support system. We kind of lift each other up all the time. I think exercise is a really, really good way to kind of keep your head in a less dangerous area. We all get down. But if we're looking ahead, you're going to make it happen. Ambition is a wonderful tool. So find your ambition always. It'll push you through these rough times. And it has several times during the roughest of times we've all experienced. For me personally, ambition, and never giving up. The big theme of the night, hope. We have to hang on.
On that front, I've always, and actually, I can use not just Dance's question here, but how old were you when you started writing? What was your training like? Can you learn to be a songwriter? Do you think it's something you just have a natural aptitude for? And where I was want to tag onto that is, as you develop, at what point do you get did you have the confidence to say, I am an actor, I am a pop singer, I am a composer? Because everyone kind of starts out as that creepy kid who everyone rolls their eyes at, saying, yeah, he thinks he's going to be a star.
I'm still that creepy kid. I think I'm still very much that creepy kid. No, I honestly think it came from ignorance is bliss. And if you're ignorant to how hard it really is, you might feel like it's easy. And I think that's kind of my way in. If I listen back to some stuff I wrote when I first started, when I was in my teens, it makes me want to throw up all over myself. But I thought at the time it was really, really great. The thing that I think really helps you get better is not by necessarily studying, because songwriting is a personal thing, but the way that you really get better is just by trying and then get feedback that challenges you. When I was in high school, I got pat on the back all the time for any song I wrote. And I think it's because I was a young guy writing songs. And how cool is that? He's young, he sounds good, he plays an instrument. That's basically writing a song. There you go. Pat on the back, pat on the back. And my head's going, wow, I've really got it. Until I played a song for my high school music teacher, who I still love, Miss Emily Gates. She basically said, is that it? That was a song? And I was like, oh, Jesus. Oh my God. I have to work on this. It didn't make me want to stop. As long as you can take criticism as a way forward, that's going to be your best training. And also live performances. You'll never get a better reaction than a live audience giving you what you want or what you think you need to work on. You'll get it right in the room.
And how old were you when you started writing music?
I was 12 or 13. And the first song I wrote was a Mother's Day gift for my mom. It wasn't like the mom song that you guys heard tonight. It was like, I think I talked about karate chopping my way out of the womb. It was a very different vibe.
Did it have a D chord in it?
Probably. At the time, I think I only knew two chords, and one of them was a D chord.
Oh, awesome. So Liz is asking us, as I look at the screen here, do you write lyrics or music first? Or do you just go where the spirit takes you? That's always the question.
You just answered it. I go where the spirit takes me. And you know what? Honestly, like when it comes to writing a pop song, the ear is king, so melody is king, and I'll do music first just so I can get something catchy. But when it comes to theater, you have to put the character first. So I'll think lyrics first because it needs to be driven by what the character is thinking at that time.
Drew, you're an amazing performer, and I don't mean to blow smoke at you, but you're an amazing performer. You've done musicals, you toured as a pop artist, but you've kind of found a home in composing musical theater. What made you choose that avenue as opposed to the others?
The collaboration of it all. It seemed, I know that musical theater, especially commercial theater, I mean, I'm writing Karate Kid for Christ's sake. It can feel manufactured when there is like a product that we're trying to make, but the building of a product, and there's a reason it takes 8 years typically for a musical to get written and then get to Broadway. It's a long process. And I came from a big, loud musical family. So I was very used to a lot of heads kind of looking at the same piece of meat, basically, and how can we start at this and how can we, dive in together. And I think the collaborative part of musical theater is what I'm really, really drawn to. I would say the storytelling, but that was always the draw to songwriting. So whether it's theater or pop, I love storytelling. But musical theater is, by its very nature, the most collaborative art form out there.
Well, talk about that for a moment. When you've written certainly words and lyrics and music for yourself, but you've also collaborated with Alex Brightman quite a bit and others. Yep. What's the collaborative process like when do you sit down together with? I know the answer to this because I listened to your podcast. But do you sit down together with pen and paper, or do you kind of go your own separate way and then get together?
It really does always depend on the project and the person. With Alex Brightman and he and I will get in a room and like throw all the spaghetti at the wall that we can. And then we'll take all the ideas that we had in that day and then go away separately, do what we do. He writes book and I write music and lyrics. And then we'll come back and figure out how they marry together, basically. But for Karate Kid, Robert Kamen, who wrote the movie and he's writing the script with me for Karate Kid, he likes to sit in the room and really talk it out. And I'll be at a piano and feel like there's eyes kind of looking at what I'm doing. I don't know if it necessarily brings out the best in me, but everybody has their process. And I think something I've learned over the course of the last 12 years of working in musical theater is to be amiable to other people's process, because I don't want my process to be so defined that it slows down the whole thing. I'll shift what I have to do in order to make the show good and to make it work for everybody. I don't mind being the guy that says, what do you need? I really don't. So it all depends. Isabella
asks us, and we aren't kids anymore, are the characters other than Andrew represent, and then I missed it here, but I'm guessing representing other living people, or are they all Drew?
In We Aren't Kids Anymore, there, I mean, like everybody's Drew basically, but it's like an iteration of Drew's thoughts. It's a 5-person musical, and each person basically represents like the angsty relationship Drew, the addictive personality Drew, the gusto artist needs to make it work Drew, the Drew that doesn't want to grow up, and the Drew that is examining his family from afar. So that's kind of the 5 iterations of my brain. And what I really like about it, I'll tell you this, it's really a trip because it is so personal to me and it is so autobiographical. On TikTok, people are taking these songs and writing their own versions of like a second half to Mom Could Play Guitar through Kelly's eyes, not through Drew's eyes. Like I've seen this on TikTok. They're just taking my songs and then like expounding upon them in a really, really interesting way. So it's cool to see my family members' names and my own experiences get reinterpreted in the eyes of other people. And that was the total goal of the show, was just make sure my experience could feel universal in a way that it brings us all closer. So it's really cool to see.
While we're talking about We Aren't Kids Anymore, I have to give a shout out to Colin Roofer, the head of our musical theater program, and the amazing cast that we had working with you. In 11 days, they went from learning the music to putting on a performance, and it was killer. And it was great to have you and Ilana Ransom Teplitz was here as well as directing, and we just had an amazing time together. So shout out to all of them, and
big shout out.
We love working with you.
It was great.
I've always been curious. Do you have songs that are your babies, that are your favorites, and others that you're like, oh, please don't ask me to play that?
I say yes and no. I don't, at this point, like if you like the song and you want me to play it, I'll play it. There used to be a point where it was like, don't ask me to play a little bit. Don't ask me to play the text message song. Don't ask me to play 2 little lines. But I like that those songs are still liked. You know, they're songs that are like 10 years old and people still want to hear them. And I think that's really, really cool.
Someone gave a shout out this week to Michigan. To
Jesus.
Right? I think I saw that on social media this week.
I think I was 19 when I wrote Michigan. It's just like nuts. It is. It's so crazy. It's so crazy to see it like continue to make a stamp. Yeah.
It's what an honor, right? To people, they will endure beyond you.
There's not one hyperbolic ounce of this statement that like any day that I seriously get this kind of response and I get to continue to write, I pinch myself. I'm getting emotional talking about it right now. I'm not even kidding. Watching some of the clips from earlier of the symphony and like, I just can't wait to get back in a room and do it, man. I really can't. It's
been challenging in ways that I never thought to have an empty theater and to have so many friends and colleagues that are just waiting to work again. It really is tough. It's very tough.
Yeah, we're ready. We're ready.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you something, there is a mountain of new songs that I have been working on that I can't wait to just feed to the actors of the world and say, let's get them going. Get on stage, perform your hearts out. Let's go. Let's do it together. Let's hold hands. Let's do it. I miss it so much. And and the reason I love you so much, Bruce, is because I know through our conversations, whether or not you were timid to meet me or whatever, it has led to one great beer after the next in our conversations. And we share so much of the same mission statement, just in terms of lifting the arts and supporting the artists and making sure that everybody around understands the work that goes into this. It's not as easy as plopping a show here, or writing a song quickly, or making the venue accessible. There is so much work that goes into it. So I've always appreciated that about our collaborative friendship.
Thanks. There's this basic humanity, very basic part of humanity that's tied to the arts. And I always have a difficult time articulating it, but and it sounds goofy, but it starts with the idea of rhythm of a heartbeat. Like we all humans, we all share that thump thump, right? And the music and the sounds that we hear around us, that it transcends language, it transcends culture. It's a way that we connect on a very, what's the word, but base level, not
Yeah,
base.
I feel like it's one of the most human elements in our life is just sharing
it does.
that experience. Yeah.
Well, we're at that hour. Is there to wrap things up? But are there things that we didn't touch on that like you want to celebrate? What are some of let's plug some of your stuff, your podcast, your shows.
Sure. Let me. I'll plug a few things while I give a final little spiel here.
Okay.
I just want everybody to know, I see some comments coming in about it's kind of a funny story. And yeah, everything that we were working on before the shutdown, we still continue to push towards next steps. We're working toward a production of It's Kind of a Funny Story down the line. Karate Kid is coming to Broadway. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Alex Brightman and I are working toward an animated movie. We're trying to get that moving. The morons miss each other so much that there's a lot of texting back and forth in hopes that the four of us will get back on stage when the world opens back up. You can all go check out my podcast on the Broadway Podcast Network. It's called Now We're Talking with Drew Gasparini. We have a lot of amazing guests coming up, including F. Michael Haney, Rob McClure for Mrs. Doubtfire, Lizzie McAlpine, this new singer-songwriter, and there's already 7 episodes out, so go check it out, and please rate and subscribe. I hate saying that, but they asked me to.
Sponsor, right? Didn't you have a sponsor? I heard you did a spot on one of your podcasts for.
We did it for BetterHelp. Yeah, BetterHelp was for BetterHelp, which is like I feel like should be sponsored by 2020, or it was the sponsor of 2020 was BetterHelp. So yeah, things are going well with the podcast, but I do want to say, just because it is emotional, and seeing some of those clips at the intro of this, that made me just miss being on stage and collaborating with my friends so much. All you actors who had to think about a plan B, I hope that you return to your plan A's. And all the venues out there that are looking at lean times because of this shutdown, please hang on to hope. That really includes the Ferguson Center for the Arts. They are a tremendous venue in Virginia, and I can't wait to get back to work with you guys. Bruce and I have been talking about another couple ways to do some virtual stuff, and I hope that comes to light, because I want to keep the artists making art even during these times. Right. But guys, let's plan a trip to New York. Let's fill that jacuzzi back up. Let's get ready for the big resurgence, the big renaissance of all things storytelling, all things music, and all things theater. I love you all. Thanks to anybody who tuned in, and thanks for all the lovely comments I've been reading. I'm overwhelmed. I really am. Thank you, everybody.
And for me too. Thanks, everyone. I want to thank also Ferguson Center's season sponsor, Langley, and all of our other sponsors and donors and supporters who keep supporting us even when our stages are dark. You don't have to worry. We've saved your seats. Drew, thank you so much, brother. It's so good to see you. Thanks for bringing a little entertainment to our life again. This was a good Friday night.
Truly the least I could do. So thank you so much for having me do this, Bruce. And till next time, huh?
Thank you all. God bless.